Today, we'll cover 5 ways to conquer FOMO, the fear of missing out. And fear of missing out isn't new. A generation ago, it was just called the grass is always greener on the other side of the fence. But today, social media brings us up close and personal with all of our friends' metaphorical grass. We're privy to pictures of their vacation in the Bahamas, that artisanal charcuterie they ordered at the hot new bistro, and last weekend's homebrew tasting party. Enter FOMO, fear of missing out, which, in a first-of-its-kind study on FOMO from 2013, is defined as, quote, a pervasive apprehension that others might be having rewarding experiences from which one is absent. Now, FOMO comes in different flavors. So to find yours, you can ask yourself, if I did miss out, what would that mean about me? And here are 3 of the most common answers. So FOMO flavor number 1 is, I made the wrong decision. So FOMO causes anxiety by undermining confidence in your life decisions. The decisions might be as small as what restaurant you last tried, or as big as what career or lifestyle you've chosen. And this type of FOMO feeds the unanswerable, anxiety-provoking questions of if only and what if. Indeed, that 2013 study showed that those who experience higher levels of FOMO also reported lower levels of overall life satisfaction. FOMO flavor number 2. Other people are having a better time than me. So this is essentially envy, which is a mix of inferiority and resentment. And this type is closest to what the term implies, that you've been left out, either unthinkingly or deliberately by others, or because you weren't in the know, didn't have access, or couldn't muster the guts to go. And FOMO flavor number 3 is I suck. Or for the extended version, because I wasn't invited, didn't know about it, couldn't make it, etc., I suck. You get the idea. So this is essentially insecurity. And remember that everyone feels this way at least occasionally. When you get hit with waves of insecurity, you are not alone. That said, the researchers found that if individuals' quote, psychological needs were deprived, they were more likely to seek out social media and to experience FOMO. So what psychological needs did they mean? Specifically, there were 3. Feeling competent, making meaningful choices, and feeling connected to others. The absence of any or all of these laid fertile ground for FOMO. So what's the cost of FOMO, besides feeling anxious, envious, and insecure? Well, in addition to the exhaustion of constantly comparing your experiences to others, the result of FOMO is actually missing out. So hear me out on this one. Pretend you're at a restaurant with friends, or at home having a perfectly relaxing evening. But when you check your alerts and updates to find a party you're not at, your mind stops enjoying and starts comparing. The result, we neglect the present. We end up discounting and being distracted from the most important social experience of the moment, the one we're actually in. Okay, so what to do? How do we turn FOMO into focus? Well, here are 5 tips to try. Tip number 1, don't compare their high points to your everyday. Remember, people put their best foot forward on social media. We tend to post when things are going well. Vacations, accomplishments, kids doing cute things, photos in which we look particularly cute. No one posts cleaning the litter box, having the flu, or picking up tampons on sale. Everyone does these things just as often as you, it's just that those moments aren't on display. Tip number 2, challenge the thought that you should love what you're doing 100% of the time. So just like every job involves the equivalent of making photocopies, every life involves a daily grind. FOMO makes you think you should be doing something awesome, if not constantly, then at least the majority of the time. But peak experiences are called peak because they're at the top of the heap, and rare. If life was all peak experiences, they wouldn't be special anymore. Tip number 3, accept that you will always be missing something. The study showed that young people, and young men in particular, struggled with higher levels of FOMO. But with age and experience comes the knowledge that at any given moment, there are infinite things you could be doing, There's always more fun to be had, and there's also always more work to do. But until we can clone ourselves, Dolly the sheep style, we can only pick one thing at a time. So I'll let you decide if you want to love the one you're with, but you can fight FOMO by loving what you're doing. Tip number 4, beware of FOMO being used against you. So fear of missing out isn't just limited to social media. Once you decide to look, you can find advertisers trying to manipulate you with FOMO. For instance, keep an eye out for countdown timers with online shopping, promos that offer, quote, exclusive access, or ads that simply promise you won't miss out. And finally, tip number 5, differentiate interruption from connection. Social media is, of course, a way to stay socially connected. But when we try to stay connected by suspending the activity we're actually doing and ignoring the people we're actually with, it morphs into interruption. Our brains aren't wired for multitasking. So when we toggle back and forth between the present moment and status updates, we end up with a series of skips and interruptions. Again, actually missing out. How much FOMO do you have in your life? Thank you again, and I'll see you next week for a happier, healthier mind.